Before we dive into one of the most tragic stories in hip-hop history, let's take a moment to reflect on the legacies of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. Their music continues to resonate across generations, and their influence on rap is undeniable. Whether you're a fan of Tupac's revolutionary spirit or Biggie's lyrical prowess, their catalogs have stood the test of time. So before we begin, let us know in the comments, what's your favorite Tupac or Biggie song? Is it Tupac's raw passion in Ambition's Azarida, or Biggie's storytelling brilliance in Juicy? Drop your thoughts and let's celebrate these icons together. Now let's get into the story of how two friends, who started out with mutual respect and admiration for each other, ended up becoming bitter rivals in a feud that not only defined their careers, but also claimed their lives. This is the tale of Tupac and Biggie, from friends to enemies, laid out chronologically, with every key difference and misunderstanding that contributed to their fallout. 1993, the friendship begins. It all started in 1993. At this point, Tupac was already making waves in the hip-hop world, having released his debut album, Tupacalypse Now, and gaining recognition for his rebellious energy and sharp lyricism. Meanwhile, Biggie was just starting to make a name for himself in the New York rap scene. Their first meeting was organic. Biggie admired Tupac's work, and Tupac, in turn, saw potential in Biggie. They quickly hit it off. Their bond was genuine. Tupac often invited Biggie to join him on stage during performances, and Biggie would later recount how Tupac taught him some valuable lessons about the industry. At this time, there was no animosity between them, just mutual respect. Tupac even acted as a mentor to Biggie, offering him advice on perfecting his style and navigating the rap game. In an alternate universe, their friendship might have continued to flourish, but as we all know, things took a tragic turn. Late 1993, early 1994. Warning signs appear. Although they started out as friends, there were early signs of differences between them, mostly in their personalities and ambitions. Tupac was passionate, political, and confrontational. He was a man of the people, always outspoken about issues affecting the Black community, from police brutality to systemic injustice. Biggie, on the other hand, had a more laid-back, introspective style. He preferred to focus on telling stories from his life in Brooklyn, sharing tales of struggle, success, and survival. Their differences in approach to the art form weren't an issue at first, but as their careers progressed, these differences would become more pronounced. While Tupac was gravitating toward activism, Biggie was more focused on creating timeless hits that appealed to a broad audience. Still, none of this had turned personal. Yet, November 30th, 1994. The Quad Studio shooting. The real turning point in their relationship came on November 30th, 1994. On this night, Tupac was headed to Quad Recording Studios in Manhattan to record with some artists affiliated with Bad Boy Records, including Biggie. As he entered the lobby, he was ambushed by three men who robbed him at gunpoint and shot him multiple times. Tupac was left severely injured, and it was a miracle he survived. What hurt Tupac most wasn't just the physical wounds, but what he saw as a betrayal. As he lay in the hospital recovering, he began to suspect that the people closest to him had set him up. Biggie, Puff Daddy, now Diddy, and other members of the Bad Boy crew were in the same building when the shooting occurred. Tupac believed that his friends knew the attack was coming, but didn't warn him. Biggie and Puffy denied any involvement. They claimed they had no idea the attack was going to happen and were as shocked as anyone else. But Tupac wasn't buying it. For him, it was too much of a coincidence that they were so close yet claimed to know nothing. He felt betrayed, and this was the moment where the bond of friendship began to fray. Early 1995, while Tupac was still dealing with the aftermath of the shooting and recovering from his injuries, Biggie released a track that would only worsen the situation. Who Shot Ya? The timing of the song's release was problematic, to say the least. Though Biggie later claimed that the song had been recorded long before the Quad Studio shooting, Tupac took it as a direct taunt. To Tupac, Who Shot Ya felt like Biggie was mocking his situation, rubbing salt in the wound. Whether or not it was intentional, the damage was done. Tupac became convinced that Biggie was part of a conspiracy against him, or at the very least that Biggie was using his misfortune to boost his own career. Biggie's camp repeatedly insisted that the song wasn't aimed at Tupac, but by this point, it didn't matter. Tupac was growing more and more paranoid, and this track only fueled his anger. 1995, Tupac joins Death Row Records. As the tension between the two rappers grew, Tupac made a move that would escalate things even further. He signed with Death Row Records. Led by Suge Knight, Death Row was the most powerful and controversial label on the West Coast, known for its hard-hitting artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Suge was the polar opposite of Puff Daddy, where Puffy was all about glossy, radio-friendly hits. Suge embodied the gritty, street-centered ethos of gangsta rap. Tupac joining Death Row only intensified the already brewing East Coast-West Coast rivalry. With Tupac now under the Death Row banner, his feud with Biggie wasn't just personal. It became a central part of a larger conflict between the two coasts. The media played a massive role in inflaming this rivalry, often turning the feud between Tupac and Biggie into a headline-grabbing war between East Coast and West Coast hip-hop. At this point, it wasn't just about music. The beef was becoming personal and dangerous. 1996. Things reached a boiling point in June 1996 when Tupac dropped the infamous diss track, Hit 'Em Up. In this track, Tupac didn't hold anything back. He directly attacked Biggie, Puffy, and the entire Bad Boy crew.
Fuck Biggie, fuck Bad Boy as a staff, record label, and as a motherfucking crew.
The song was filled with venom and rage, with Tupac accusing Biggie of copying his style and profiting off his pain. But the most shocking line in the track was when Tupac claimed to have slept with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans. Though Faith Evans denied the accusation, and many believed Tupac was exaggerating to get under Biggie's skin, the damage was done.
Lil' Kim don't fuck around with real cheese, quick to snatch your ugly ass off the streets. So fuck peace, I let them niggas know it's on for.
Hit 'Em Up was more than a diss track. It was a declaration of war. Tupac was no longer just accusing Biggie of betrayal. He was tearing down Biggie's entire life in the most public and brutal way possible. While Biggie never directly responded to Hit 'Em Up, it's clear that the release of the track only intensified the hatred between the two camps. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry reached new heights, with fans and artists taking sides in a feud that had spiraled far beyond what it started as. September 7, 1996. The tragic shooting of Tupac. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas to attend a Mike Tyson fight. After the fight, he was involved in an altercation with a gang member in the lobby of the MGM Grand. Later that night, as Tupac and Suge Knight were driving down the Las Vegas Strip, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside their car and opened fire. Tupac was hit multiple times and was rushed to the hospital. After 6 days in critical condition, he succumbed to his injuries on September 13, 1996. He was just 25 years old. Tupac's murder sent shockwaves through the music world, and though many theories have circulated about who was responsible, his murder remains officially unsolved. Some believe it was retaliation for the MGM Grand altercation, while others think it was connected to the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Whatever the case, Tupac's death marked a dark chapter in hip-hop history. March 9, 1997. Biggie's murder. Just 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, Biggie was also shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles. Like Tupac's murder, Biggie's death remains unsolved, though many believe it was connected to the same East Coast-West Coast feud that had claimed Tupac's life. Biggie's death brought an end to the rivalry in the most tragic way possible. Two of hip-hop's greatest talents were gone, and the world was left to wonder what might have been had they reconciled before it was too late. The feud between Tupac and Biggie started with a simple misunderstanding, but quickly spiraled out of control. What began as a friendship between two talented young artists ended in betrayal, bitterness, and violence. Both rappers were taken from the world far too soon, and their deaths serve as a reminder of how dangerous unchecked rivalry can be. Today, Tupac and Biggie are remembered not just for their music, but also for the tragic circumstances that ended their lives. Their legacies continue to shape the world of hip-hop, and their influence can be seen in countless artists who followed in their footsteps. But despite everything, one thing is clear. Tupac and Biggie were two of the greatest to ever do it. So now, it's your turn. What's your favorite Tupac or Biggie track? Let us know in the comments and keep their legacies alive. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for similar content.